Check, check, mic check, mic check. Check, 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 check. Hello. Check, check, mic check. Is it working? What's this one for? What's the other?
That's the receiver. So that has to be plugged into the iPad for the wireless to work. So, okay.
Are these people like looking at me right now?
No.
I look crazy.
No, I haven't sent anybody the link. Settings, audio and video.
Yo, check out these glasses. They're blue light, so they filter out the blue light in screens.
So light.
I know, right? So now look at your screen. Is it much easier on the eyes? Can you see the difference?
I'm not chucking that mic again.
Check, check, check. Doing a mic check. Mic check, mic check, mic check. Check, 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 check. Check, check, mic check. Check, check, check.
I can still see blue.
You can?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's the lights in here.
Blue.
Yeah. It's just if the blue light that's in the screen, it filters that out.
Huh.
So your eyes don't get strained more.
It looks a little clearer. Maybe like a little bit.
Yeah. It's not like it doesn't filter out all blue color,
Mm-hmm.
but it filters out like the blue lights that emit from screens.
Why did you get these?
To see if yeah, because usually my eyes are strained by like the end of the day from looking at a screen, and I figure it. Yeah, and I figured it might help with my migraines too, maybe.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to steal these.
So they're nice, right?
Yeah, I'm going to take them.
Tony likes them too.
I know.
I think they're good. They can fit like any face shape.
Fit my face. Plus, they're like 2 ounces, so.
I know. I picked them up. I was like, it came in like a case and a cleaner, and it came with like a blue light, so you can like shine it on the and see like the difference.
Okay.
That was why. Don't worry, I'm the only one with the link, so. Audio. Mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See, it looks like it's a good level. I got the output jacked all the way up. Unless it's got to go through that to. I mean, it's possible, but. Oh, that's why. Yeah, it should be iPad mic. Now let's try cranking it that way. There we go. Mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm gonna have you just talk if that's okay, and then as soon as I verify that we're good, I'm gonna email back everybody.
Okay. Hi, this is G, just giving a test for this very cool setup here. Thank you, Gabe, for checking the levels and everything over at your desk. And we might get excited about stuff and maybe talk like this sometimes, but mostly we'll just talk like this. Check, 1, 2, 3. This is weather. We're just talking. No big thing. She's having a conversation.
Hey, we're golden.
All right, my dude.
I'm actually gonna bring it down a little bit. I realized it was playing through the channel that was on the quiet end, so I'm just gonna.
Just the iPad.
Just gonna back that down a little bit.
Okay.
Mic check. Mic check. Check.
Mic check, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Not redlining.
That's good, as long as it ain't redlining.
Hi, this is G. We're checking the mics and yeah.
So what we can do, just for the time being, let's put it back up on that first alert logo, unless you're wanting to say shots.
How do we set shots here? We could do a wide and then well, it says on air. There's already a wide.
Yeah,
Hmm.
so that'll be fine. That's all I've been doing. It's just like, oh hey, here's the
Yep.
logo, and then no.
Maybe that dot dot dot. Maybe that's an option under here.
Under here?
Yeah, maybe it's an option. Just a thought.
That's
Sorry.
alright. So we'll do that there for now.
Okay.
And if you want to turn off the, well, let's leave it up. Just don't swear.
Yeah, should be easy.
Okay, I'll do that.
Knowing
Send out
me.
the link to the-
All right, I'm gonna bang out some radio. And I think I'll turn it off just in case. Good morning. Are we live with you, Pender? Cool. Shows we have 2 viewers. One of them I know is me. One may be someone else in house. But of course you could. Okay. All right. Well then we're not connected yet to the people. We need the people. All right. Oh, 3 are watching. Is one of them Pander? Oh, now only 2. So, please say something in the chat bar. Keeping an eye on my email, K-Mac.
What?
I said I'm keeping an eye on my email, K-Mac.
What?
For this lady, because she's obviously not signed in yet.
Oh, the lady that's supposed to be signed in? Right?
Yeah. Maybe they're having technical difficulties. Either way, Mike is live. Mike is live, so we won't.
You know Fred's getting an ice cream truck today?
Yeah, I saw that. It's crazy. I don't know if I'm going to be here.
You still single dadding it?
I'm single dog dadding it this week. No, for a second we had 3 viewers.
Yeah.
Now we're back down to 2. I've emailed the lady. So what's up?
Okay. Wonder if they're having some technical.
Yeah, I hope not. Thank you for your work.
Yeah.
And so we turn
Everything's
on this mic.
Yep.
We
And I verified
set it
I've
into
got
the
audio.
iPad, and I'm just in terms of setup before, and the Mevo just launched the Mevo program,
Yeah.
and it works with the Mevo.
It should, yeah.
And
Now the only catch to that may be if it's got to do an update or something like that.
just like that, and then in that case go through the update. And you said it took like 20 minutes or something.
It took about probably 10.
Okay.
But from start to finish, getting everything.
Okay.
Don't mind me, just trying my bearings.
Your bearings. What if like this is like the live, like when they jump on? You're just like, we're back here.
Well, it's also making some noise in the mic, which is
Yeah.
He's like, I think something's wrong with the audio.
all I hear is a hissing sound. Oh, we have 3 viewers now.
good. Oh, it's a good sign.
That is a good sign.
That's
If
how we
one
got-
of you is Pender, please say something in the chat bar.
or
Send
shoot
us,
a text.
yeah, send us a message. Let us know you can see us and hear us okay.
down to 2.
Hopefully that's just Ed logging off. Or no, it was you. We don't even have Ed. I wanted to show off in front of Ed.
I know. I sent him the link and
These
sent Brad the link too. But
These opportunities to shine in front of Ed are limited.
oh yeah. So otherwise, like, I don't believe you. You're like, no, Ed, for real.
I do stuff. It's so exciting when we go up to 3
It
viewers.
is. Kind of makes our day. That was part I can bring back. Feels like that slides much better.
So is that a lubricant or just forced air?
That's forced air.
Okay.
What I did was I actually took this and washed it with soap and water, just to strip out the particles and everything else.
Okay.
Usually, if there is any lubrication left, it'll stay on.
Uh-huh.
So that's.
Oh, hey, we got 3 on. We're talking about
Hey, there we are.
talking about your bearings.
Yes. Well, we've got our bearings in order. So let's. We got Jessica.
All
Here.
right. Well, I was going to type very cool, but I could just say very
Very
cool.
cool. Well.
So just want to welcome you to our forecast center here at WECT News. Gabe Ross really helping us set us up today. You can see Gabe if you watch the weather report weekend mornings, and he works during the week as well. And also we have Kelly will be jumping in a little bit. Meteorologist Kelly McGlynn works in our forecast center, and you might see her if you watch the weather report on a lot of times noon and sometimes at 5 in the afternoon. And of course, I work in the mornings. If you watch Carolina in the morning, you can see us on TV. And then, boy, so we spend a lot of time back here, and we service not only TV, but we do the weather for the WECT weather app and radio stations, and of course the World Wide Web, our website on a desktop and or your mobile device, and we'll have put some of our fingerprints on some of that content there. So I just wanted to give you a quick tour of the forecast center and some of our weather graphics, and of course we'll be yeah, we could probably do the studio as well. And then if you have any questions, fire them our way, and we'll answer those specifically as well. Now, we have one mic in this situation, so Kelly, could you just talk and then let us know if you can hear Kelly?
Hey everybody, how are you this morning? I think Gabe's getting set up to kind of give you all a tour of our studio. So hopefully we don't get disconnected from you.
Should be all right.
Yeah, well, we're going flying.
Where
So
Here
good.
we go.
Well, there's a keyboard. One time we did this, I just did a
Keyboard.
360.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll kind of narrate as we're going, and I'll watch and I'll see. So there would be the anchor desk. Kim Ratcliffe, Bill Murray worked there in the morning, and John Evans and Francis Weller in the evenings.
Ashley at 4.
Ashley at 4.
Marissa at 7.
Marissa at 7. Got a lot of anchors. And then, so it's tucked away in some of the corners of our studio are some pieces of equipment like ladders. Kelly, what would you call that part of the studio?
The aux wall, right?
Yeah,
Just a
that's
test.
right. That's right.
Some
No, it
beautiful
escaped
pictures in
me.
the aux wall.
That's our auxiliary
Some
wall.
reporters stand there and report their stories that they were working on for the day.
One thing that people say a lot of times when they tour our studios is that everything is close together, but the illusion is that it's bigger when you watch it. That's because the camera shots, move just all tight on one spot. And so it can give the illusion that we're working in a big space. Kelly's walking over to our weather wall. So the green wall there would take...
Notice I have sunshine on my socks today.
Kelly wants everybody to notice her socks. She has sunshine on her socks. I have crabs on my socks. And so the green wall, if you guys aren't familiar with that technology, would be, that big camera you see right there on the left, that's camera 4, and it's tied to a machine that takes anything that camera sees that's green and turns it into, well, whatever our director wants it to be. 99% of the time, that's where we do the weather. It's a weather map, but he can put anything behind there. And so we don't have it hooked up right now. Gabe, thank you for your camera work, by the way. But those side monitors there would show the finished product. So if Kelly was referencing like a temperature map or something, like you see me back there in front of this temperature map, that would be sort of projected onto the final product. You know, Kelly's not wearing any green. Kelly's hair is not green. Her skin is not green. She's feeling okay today. She got rid of that virus. So everything's good to go that she would be able to deliver the weather report. The only thing that would be quote unquote keyed out would be the weather wall that's green. And Kelly's showing a clicker too. That would be how we go forward through a weather presentation, or sometimes we can pause or go backward. Sometimes we can interact with the graphics. That's something you may see a time or two, like we'll press a button virtually on a graphic and it'll launch into another graphic. And that's just something we can do here in 2019. Although green screen technology has been around a long time, some of the interactivity features that we do are a little different. So thank you for that, guys. In terms of weather graphics day to day that we do, I can advance our little presentation back here. We have a temperature map that's been a big darn deal lately because it's been so nice outside. Just a couple of weeks ago, I feel like it would already be 90 degrees,
Probably.
with that heat
Feels
wave.
like in near 100.
Yeah, with an extra heat index, so that's good. We have a network of cameras here, and so we don't have, I guess the closest camera to you guys would be our Surf City cam. We don't have that up right now, but we have a Surf City cam, a Wilmington camera. Nice mix of clouds and sun today. We have forecast models that help tell our story. This one would show where the model depicts clouds and radar elements like rain and storms, which we have an actual radar too. And then we have sort of one-stop shop graphic that would be our 7-day forecast, where we kind of put everything into the context in the next week. And this would reflect the same content that you'd see on the web and also on the mobile app as well. Kelly, I'm going to call up some tropical satellites here, because this time of year, and I know you guys may have some questions about hurricanes, considering where we live and what we've gone through. But we have the ability to see storms from space. And so one of those areas that we look for storm development is the Gulf of Mexico. And this morning on TV, I was able to highlight an area that the National Hurricane Center was very interested for storm development. A couple of days ago, they gauged this area of thunderstorms that you see where they look like little boiling bits of red and yellow. Those are enhanced cloud tops that you see from space. They gauged the odds for that to develop into a tropical storm at 20%. Now those odds are looking even lower, actually near 0% for the next couple of days. So it's good news there. This is a time of year where we also look at the eastern Atlantic Ocean to be a spot where tropical systems can develop. Hurricane Florence, we remember from last year, actually was born closer to Africa than North America. And there are certainly some waves of thunderstorms. Yeah, so that's the time of year we really start to watch that. Are any questions coming through about the material we've covered so far, or anything you want to know from us about the weather in general or what we do here? Feel free to ask those.
Talk about homegrown storms, June and July for a tropical season.
I'll give you the mic, Kelly, and I will show some of our equipment here. I know Gabe did a studio tour, but can also show what we work with on a daily basis.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So this right here, um, this would be our earpiece that we wear. Feel free to talk too. I don't know if I'm going to come through.
So what Gannon's putting on now is what we call an IFB. I don't even know what IFB stands for. Do you?
I think it's feedback is the FB. I think it's either
feedback.
internal or something.
So that's how we can communicate. We have a whole nother area where we have master control and where our producers and directors go in the back to kind of produce and direct our newscasts. And so we're in two separate rooms, so we can't communicate next to each other. So what we use is that IFB or that earpiece, and that's how we communicate with those folks who are away. So while we're doing our weather on air, we usually have about 3:15 to do our full main weather segment for you at home, and we get timed by our producers. So when we're in the middle of our newscast, we'll hear in our ear not only ourselves, but we'll also hear 2 minutes, 1 minute, 30 seconds wrap. So we're kind of on a time crunch to get all of our information out to you within about a 3-minute period. And to keep our show intact and to keep the timing as close as it can be so we can, get in our breaks and have everything come together really well as we communicate with each other through that IFB piece which Gannon put in his ear. And we can talk to them, they can talk to us without having to run back and forth between those two areas to kind of communicate during a show.
Yeah, this is just the studio. There's the control room, and we're kind of spread out in the building. And then I have this. This is going to be my microphone. I'll wear that in the kind of the same way. You can see it, right? I mean, we're not hiding it there, but it's not the biggest thing in the world at the same time. And so this is how we would communicate. Someone in the control room would have our microphone turned on, and ideally, no one else's microphone turned on right at that time, because they might be talking or doing something, even eating or drinking, having a snack or something. So that's that.
A few questions coming in.
Great. That's awesome.
So it's student question. If the hurricane was heading to Africa, how did it miss Africa? I'm assuming that question comes from the graphic that Gannon kind of just showed. So these, I guess, clusters of, thunderstorms here, this is coming off the coast of Africa. So it's moving away from Africa and it's traveling across the Atlantic there. So this area too is kind of where thunderstorms or hurricanes, tropical storms usually develop from. They make their track across the Atlantic and then they can go past the Bahamas, Bermuda, and then if it decides to turn up north towards us, towards the Carolinas, such as what Florence did, that's how those, would-be hurricanes travel. So it starts by coming off the coast of Africa and then makes its travels along the Atlantic west.
Yeah, Florence wasn't even Florence when it was over by Africa. It was just a baby system
Yep.
at that point. Can you share with information how you predict the weekly forecast? Well, yeah, I'll call up this model, Kelly, and we can maybe work with it that way. So this model is, this is essentially a computer model or a computer representation of the atmosphere. There's never been a time where we have more computer power to be able to crunch all the numbers that correspond to different things in the atmosphere, like temperature, pressure, wind, and those factors can go together in math equations in a certain way that can give approximations or guidance of how weather features are going to evolve and how they're going to change over the next several days, even a week. Some computer models are run out to weeks and weeks on end. Of course, the data that they give you at the end is naturally a little suspicious. It's like if you asked me what the forecast was going to be for Christmas, I wouldn't have a computer model for you. I mean, that things go kind of haywire well in time. But this model right here shows the pattern in the upper atmosphere and where this weather system would give a real bunch of heat, and so this one too, and then there's a little break in that weather system. And so we might use the model and see how that changes as we go through time. in this particular week, we're actually not looking for a whole lot of day-to-day changes. So the model looks a lot the same as it did when it started, and that went ahead a whole week. So one of the takeaways, if you were watching the weather forecast this morning, is that the weather today looks a lot like the weather tomorrow and the next day and the next day.
Do you want to talk about your probability city too? Maybe they have questions on the odds of a shower or a storm probability.
Wow.
He explains it really well. So most
I'm
folks, when we
flattered.
say, you know, there's a 20% odds for a shower or a storm, most people think it's so low, it's not going to happen to me, right? But really, there's still that chance that you can be caught under a shower or a storm. And usually when there is, you know, a 20 to 30% chance for a shower or a storm, and somebody does get caught under one of those storms, they kind of get a little bit confused, like, you know, I thought it was low today, but I got stuck under one of these drenching storms. So Gannon kind of introduced something on his social media page that I thought was really educational and a great learning tool for not only our viewers, but even you guys too that are watching, to kind of understand more of what we're talking about on TV when we kind of throw all of these numbers out at you.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to figure out how I would bring that up. I think with this, hold on just a second. Hold the phone on that. Let's answer another question
Okay.
Before that, as I'm trying to.
So we'll go to what are some hurricane safety tips for students and their families? Well, we have all, if you guys have a smartphone, if your parents have a smartphone, we have all this stuff on our WECT mobile weather app. But a good tool to have is kind of getting your hurricane kits together. You want to have lots of bottled water. You want to have lots of canned items, so non-perishable foods. First aid kit's always something good to have. Bug spray is always something good to have too. So when you think of a hurricane coming, it's going to put down a lot of water, and mosquitoes kind of thrive in an environment where there's kind of just a lot of standing water. So some folks don't think about the bug spray, but it is really important. You know, some mosquitoes carry malaria and you can get really sick from that. So you want to keep all those bugs away if you can. Trash bags are really good to have too. You want to have nice sturdy boots so you can go and walk around afterwards if that water is really deep. Let's see, batteries are really important as well. So, you know, if you have a weather radio or if you have any tools that you're going to be using to clean up afterwards, you want to have power for that. Let's see, what else is good in your hurricane kit? You also want to have your medications. If you have any medications that you're on, maybe if you have, you know, allergy medication or something that you take on a daily basis, you want to make sure you have enough of that to last you until, you know, your pharmacy is open. What else? Don't forget about your pets too. If you all have any pets at home, maybe a dog, a bird, a bunny, anything, you want to make sure that they're set to go too during that hurricane. So making sure they have enough food for them for at least a week or so, making sure that their tags and their collars are all up to date, that if, you know, they were to get out, they would have a way to be brought home back to you.
I was listening to most of what you said, and that's all good stuff. And here's what Kelly was talking about with this rain chance project. One thing we've noticed as weather forecasters, it's like anything with communication. There's a person who communicates, and there's a person who receives the communication. And when everything works well, like this thing we're doing right now, we're talking, you can hear us. You can understand us. If you don't understand us, you can ask a question. It's back and forth. One thing we've noticed that is often misunderstood in weather forecasting is the idea of rain chances. And so I built like a whole bunch of fake radars to go with rain chances. Radars would be a tool where you can see where rain and storms are happening. And so, so Kelly brought this up. Oh wow, Kelly, you set me up here.
Yeah.
Look at this. And
Sorry.
oh, that's weird. That's weird.
Wait, there you go.
You set a feedback loop up. So anyway, you could go to my weather page, meteorologist Gannon Medwick, and see this a little closer. But so one time you may see a 10-20% rain chance, and you think, oh, that's nothing. But even if the forecast is perfect over 10 times, then 2 of them are going to rain. And like what 20% of 100 is 20 times if the forecast is perfect every time. And so the same way, if you have like a 60% chance of rain, you think, oh, we're going to get blown out of the water. Well, maybe a lot of times you will, but then a few times, even if the forecast is perfect, that might not come through for you. So that's one way to look at numbers. And I think it's important to look at numbers over the summertime. I know that my daughters sometimes forget about math class over the summertime, but numbers are important, and math class is going to get you when you get back to school. So keep your brains active a little bit.
Love math class. Back to school shopping is the best too.
Yeah, can you zoom in on the radar? Was that the question just now, that thing? Or can you zoom in on the radar? Hard to see. We could probably zoom as close as we can. Right there. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's as far as we can go. Yeah. But yeah, you can check that out if you guys are curious about that. That's one of my recent posts on my Facebook page. I got an email a little earlier today, and it was from somebody who I know is going to be on this broadcast here. And Miss Penny, and I haven't even clicked on this yet. I thought you might enjoy a hurricane prep list the kids came up with without looking. So looking at other lists. Gosh, I'm looking at some of this stuff.
Hey, you nailed all of it.
Even bug spray, I remember you brought up. Yeah. Board games.
Nice.
So you don't lose your mind when the power's out.
Good too.
Yeah, cards are easy. Everybody likes card games. Things that you could do.
Good.
Watch the news. Yeah.
Cash, that's very important too.
Yeah. Yeah, you always need to watch these storms because we live in a time when it's like, okay, I want to know and I want to know now. And technology can allow you to do that. But these storms, they take a while. Like Florence was in the Atlantic for 2 weeks. So we had, each day an opportunity to learn more about it and hone the forecast. So it's important to stay tuned for updates. When a hurricane watch is issued.
Clean that house, pick up the yard, cover pools, good.
Okay, everybody says buy the clean what?
Clean every dish.
Clean every dish. Now buy milk and eggs, and more water if you can. Milk and eggs. Those are a little scary to me. Milk and eggs. I don't know why people buy perishables before hurricanes.
And bread, too.
There's always a run on, and bread will even eventually go stale.
Some of the moisture gets stuck inside that and then it starts to mold. We found that out when we had bread here.
Yeah.
All that bread started molding pretty quickly because of so much moisture that was in the room.
It gets nasty. Yeah, if you have a place to store the milk and eggs, like with a generator that you're confident in, otherwise those things turn pretty quick.
Fill up bathtubs, that's a good one.
Fill up bathtubs is a great one, yeah, because it's just a natural housing for fresh water. And if you scrub your bathtub before you do that, you have very clean water. You can drink it if you fill up your bathtub. So that's awesome.
These are all excellent ideas, I gotta say.
These are a lot like the ideas that we have in on our mobile app and on WECT.com. We have a hurricane prep guide, and man, a lot of them are just what you have written there.
I think that's it.
I think that's all for our tour, unless we'd be happy to answer any more questions you have about what we do and about the weather in general. And we hope your summer is going really good as well. One thing we didn't talk, we talked a little bit about satellites to see the clouds from space. There was one question about the radar. I showed you those radars in that graphic, but this is going to be an actual radar this morning, and the way radars work are pretty cool, as opposed to like a satellite, which is based out in space. a radar is based on the ground. So there's actually one radar tower not far from Charlotte, North Carolina, if you know where that is. It's not too far from Wilmington, but in the opposite direction of Pender. And then there's radars all around. What they do is they send out a beam of microwave energy, not like the microwave that cooks your food, but it's at a very high frequency. You can't see the radar beam, but it's specialized enough that it bounces off things in the air, like solids and liquids that it sees in the air, and it goes back and it reports to the radar, so to speak. It's like, hey, there's something over here. And for weather applications, that something is raindrops, snowflakes, hailstones, sleet pellets. So radar, in terms of the weather radar can pick up where those things are happening, and to a great degree how strong or severe they are. So for this radar, we can look south and east. Geography is so important in weather. South and east of the Carolina coast, over the ocean, there are a whole bunch of showers and thunderstorms, and a lot of them on the scale here, the radar's telling us they're heavy, where you see the orange and the red. So that would be a radar product.
Latest question: how do hurricanes develop?
How do hurricanes hurricane? You need warm water, because the thunderstorm might like to feed off the very warm and humid air that pools over warm water. So that's like food for the thunderstorm. When the thunderstorm eats that food, it starts to grow, and then the air pressure drops because you have a lot of rising air into that thunderstorm. More air is attracted into the whole situation because the pressure has dropped. More thunderstorms grow. The pressure drops more. More air gets sucked into the whole situation, and more thunderstorms grow, provided you have that warm water fuel. And then pretty soon, you actually have a situation where, because the Earth spins, big weather systems feel that air or feel that spin, and so they develop spin. So now you have a fuel source, you have growing thunderstorms feeding off that fuel source in the low air pressure, and you have convergent air that's starting to spin, and that's when you get the storm to develop. And when hurricanes are at their peak intensity, that spin can correspond with winds of 150 miles an hour, and gusts even higher than that. So that's a great question. It's kind of like a feedback. You need food, and you need the right conditions with which to grow. Does a tornado form from the ground or the sky? Kelly, I'll let you take that one.
Well, we actually just had a tornado warning. When was that? Tuesday? So tornadoes form from the sky. There are dust devils, though, and those form from the ground, right? So you may see a dust devil spinning around with kicking up a lot of dirt and dust. Those are from the ground, but tornadoes do come from the sky. You may see some funnel clouds, or maybe some what we call scud clouds that kind of look like a funnel, but they're not. Sometimes you see them when you see one of those really cool shelf clouds coming in over your area, but yes, the tornado comes from the sky.
You need that input from the ground. Things need to work together, though. And just like a hurricane, when the spin tightens up, it gets faster. If you've ever watched a skater go into a spin and they spin really fast, when they move their arms together and they tighten up, they spin even faster. And that's a property of physics, that the tighter things are, the faster they spin. So that's how tornadoes stretch out and spin really tight and fast, and hurricanes do too, but on a larger scale.
Right, and we can't say it's officially a tornado until it does make contact with the ground as well. How do you know when a thunderstorm is coming?
I would say radar and satellite is the best tools that we have, besides our eyeballs and our ears.
Yes, our ground truth is, so our eyes out in the field is really how, you know, we get that confirmation of what's going on. Maybe if there's hail, what size that hail is, if someone's seeing, you know, a funnel cloud somewhere. And we have some weather spotters too out in the areas that kind of give us their feedback to where they are. And that helps us too. We also have cameras, which help us out a lot as well. So we can see from our cameras what's going on in certain areas. So that helps us forecast as well. But you guys probably know in the summer, these thunderstorms kind of pop up left and right. So it's kind of like boiling water, right? You know the water's going to boil. You know the conditions are favorable for these thunderstorms to pop, but you just don't know where they're going to do that. It's kind of like boiling water. You see the bubbles start to come up, but we can't really predict where those bubbles specifically are going to pop up, but we know that they're going to do that.
Yeah, sometimes there's little clues, and we'll try to drop those clues and communicate them to you. And also, like you said, you know the water is going to boil. We can identify days where there are more likely to that thunderstorms develop than others. Like today, our chance of rain today, I think we have it at 10. I thought about going 0. We have a very, very low chance of rain and thunderstorms today. But some days in the summertime, all the conditions that we can analyze are right, and so we might ascribe a forecast of like 60 or 80%, like we talked about those rain chances for thunderstorms for that day. So even before thunderstorms develop, we can see what we can kind of see the writing on the wall.
So
How do you forecast the weather if the radar breaks? It becomes a challenge. We use our other tools like satellites and ground truth, like Kelly was talking about.
And if our Doppler radar, we kind of have other radars around. So there's one up in Morehead City, there's one out in Raleigh that the beam can come around our way, but it's not the best, I guess, imaging to use. But it's something we have kind of as a replacement if our radar goes down.
Yeah, the radar in our own backyard, the one I was talking about near Charlotte, is the best one. When Hurricane Florence came, did you have to work, and did you go out in the storm? Yeah, we worked for days, and we stayed here at the station. Actually, our station took some damage, and so we had to find other places to stay for the little bit of sleep that we would get between shifts. We actually stayed in a church one night. A church opened their doors. And, I did.
You guys went down there?
We stayed in a clinic.
We were kind of
crazy time.
We shouldn't have been out, but we had to go somewhere because part of our roof here came off. We were taking on water, but luckily none of that came into the studio. Most of it was in our newsroom and in other, you know, rooms that didn't impact us broadcasting on air, thankfully. But we were on air for over 80 hours straight. So we would work 12 hours on, probably more on some days, and 12 hours off until we were kind of past, I guess, the worst of it. But even after this initial, I guess you could say, center of the storm moved out, we still had some bands wrap around, sparking off tornado warnings all the way through Sunday night. So we got off air Sunday evening. It was Sunday Night Football, and we had to cut in for some more tornado warnings, even though we were mostly wrapped up with the main event there.
Yeah, the whole thing was about 400 miles wide, and it was moving less than 5 miles an hour for most of it. So if you do that math, we're involved with the system in some form or fashion for, like she said, days.
A very long time.
On that. Can dust storms form around here? Good question. Usually no. The extreme case would be if you are in a rural area, like there are some parts of Pender County that there are a lot of trees removed and wide farm fields, and when those get plowed up, if they get very dry, there can be tremendous amounts of dust if the wind conditions are right. But around here, we don't have both the geographical ingredients, and usually we don't have the meteorological or weather ingredients like drought and for an extended period of time to get large dust storms like you see in the desert.
Yes. How do you track tornadoes? Well, there's lots of different tools we have to use that. And one of them is velocity, so that kind of measures our wind speed. And if you can see here, let's try to zoom into that. you see kind of green and red and gray on the velocity scan right now. So the green color kind of means those are winds that would be moving towards the radar site, and the red's moving away from the radar site.
The radar's
So
here.
is where Gannon's pointing, is where that radar site is. So the green kind of scattered little dots there, that's what's moving toward the radar site right now. And the red little particles is what's moving away from the radar site. So today, not really the best day to kind of describe this live on our velocity signature right now. But usually what we'll see is those red and green colors start to kind of swirl together. You'll see them kind of look brighter, and that would indicate stronger winds. We'll start to see a little bit of that start to rotate, and then that's how we'll kind of know there's some kind of rotation in that storm. And we also have a shear product. So shear is winds changing in direction with height. We look at shear, we see on our, what would you call this?
Scale, yeah.
Scale. If it's getting stronger, if it's weaker. So we kind of look at a lot of different properties to tell that, but also there's different atmospheric ingredients that have to come together too for that to happen. But still, tornadoes are kind of still getting studied. We really haven't really seen the inside of a tornado. So it's
too violent to measure.
Right.
You know?
So, meteorology is kind of just a learning field day after day. There's so much more to learn. But in terms of tracking that tornado, that's basically how we do it in-house.
Yeah, when we see those colors like get really intense, velocity going one way and then the velocity's going this way, then we know something's really rotating in that area of concern. Can a thunderstorm turn into a tornado? A thunderstorm can produce a tornado, but as Kelly was saying, there's a lot of different ingredients that have to come together for tornadoes. So the vast majority of thunderstorms don't turn out to produce tornadoes.
And we also have water spouts here too that are kind
yeah.
of like tornadoes on the water. But most of the time they usually stay over water. I think there was one time in 2011 that one came ashore
near Surf City. Yeah. Water spouts tend to be, when they come ashore, they tend to be less violent than an average tornado, but still they can produce winds of 80, 90 miles an hour in the little tiny areas that they affect. And so you don't want to be caught
on a boat
spectating, a water spout from a boat or from a backyard, because you don't want patio furniture flying at your face at 100 miles an hour. That's just not an afternoon that I would want to have. The major hurricane question, is it likely that we will have any major hurricanes this season? I would say it's likely that in the Atlantic somewhere there will be. They haven't formed yet. We had one hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico, which is part of the Atlantic Basin. The average hurricane season produces 2 or 3 major hurricanes. So indications are this season would be close to average based on a number of factors. So probably at some point, we'll be tracking a major hurricane. The important question is, would they come here? The lion's share of major hurricanes do not. We're kind of a small target, but that's why each hurricane that forms requires a lot of tracking just to make sure that we're going to be clear, or if we're not, how bad is it going to be?
Can you track how fast the speed of a hurricane?
Yeah, I would
And
say
what
how
we
we
can
track
use.
satellites is probably the biggest.
And we rely too on our friends, our
Talking about the hurricane hunters? There are
trying
friends.
to think of what else I could describe them as.
Um,
Not co-workers, because they're not. I mean, they are co-workers,
yeah, they're
but
colleagues
colleagues.
as meteorologists.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So we get updates from them when something is on their radar, what they're looking at. Like what Gannon showed you before, that little area in the Gulf of Mexico. They were saying, we're watching it, but it's not something that looks too dangerous over the next few days. So we get updates from them 4 times a day. 2 are intermediate, 2 are bigger. I don't know, how would you describe it? Like an intermediate advisory at like 11 and 2, and then our
we'll get
main
the updates, and then when a hurricane gets close enough to shore, we can use radar to track it, because the radar beam goes out over the ocean a little bit. remember the time when Florence got close enough to the coast where we could track it with radar. Do you have to put all your screens up when a hurricane comes so they don't get messed up? Like window screens? It would be a good idea. Yeah, window screens are highly vulnerable to damage even with small debris, like small tree limbs and whatnot. It's a good part of hurricane prep.
Boarding up the windows. Yeah.
Yeah. Some of you may have hurricane shutters, like on the outside. Or some of you might have some plywood squares that you store, that you put on the around your house. Usually it takes really bad wind though to mess up a window. Like you can't just have like a borderline hurricane. It's got to be full-fledged. These are great questions. One more. That wraps up our questions. Well, guys,
Okay.
it was cool to meet you, and great questions. Glad that you were able to be with us on this virtual tour. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, have a great rest of your summer, and let us know if we can do anything else for you. All right. Keep watching the weather. Bye-bye.